Welcome, beloved, to the Light and Shadow podcast. This is the start of today's transmission, an exploration into the return to the I, remembering the self beneath the story. Before we begin, let me offer this important note. What I share here is rooted in spiritual guidance, energetic work, and lived wisdom. It is meant to inspire, awaken, and support your journey inward. But it is not a substitute for therapy, medical advice, or professional mental health care. If you are moving through deep trauma or emotional difficulty, please seek out the proper support alongside these transmissions. Now, take a breath with me. Imagine peeling away the labels, the roles, the masks the world asks you to wear, until what remains is the raw, radiant essence of your true self. This is where our journey begins, not with who you were told to be, but with the soul you've always been. Before we step into today's journey, I want to invite you deeper into my world beyond this podcast. If you've been feeling the pull to live from your highest, most sovereign self, there are many doors you can walk through. You can join the Light and Shadow Sanctuary, my membership space for guided shadow work, healing, and energetic attunement. You can step into Grey Ethereus Academy, where I train mystics and seekers in the deeper arts of energy mastery, shadow integration, and soul leadership. And you can work with me privately through one-on-one coaching. And if you want to feel the pulse of my work in real time, join me on TikTok, where I share transmissions, teachings, and life experiences. Now, let us begin today's transmission. Today, we are returning to the I, the self that existed before the world told you who to be, the part of you untouched by conditioning, expectation, and the survival masks you learned to wear. This is not just about self-discovery. It is about self-remembering, because you were never lost. You were simply layered under stories. When you were born, you arrived whole, unscripted, unshaped, no labels, no expectations, no performance required. You were a pure spark of essence, breathing, feeling, sensing, simply being. But the world is not designed to let the wholeness remain untouched. From your earliest moments, you were handed scripts about who you were allowed to be. Be the good child, be quiet, be strong, be useful. Each phrase carried an invisible rule. Love is conditional. Belonging must be earned. And so, without realizing, you began weaving masks out of these instructions. Some of these masks kept you safe. Some earned you approval, or what you thought was love. And some were stitched on so tightly that even you began to believe they were your real face. The danger is not the mask itself. Masks are not inherently wrong. They were survival strategies. The danger is forgetting that you put them on. Because when you forget, the mask hardens. It fuses with your identity. You stop asking, is this really me? Or is this who I became to be acceptable? Obedience, resilience, self-sacrifice, perfectionism. All of these are costumes, not your core. These masks are what I call survival identities. They were born out of your nervous system's need to belong, to avoid rejection, to protect you in a world that could not always meet your fullness. But here's the truth. They are not the essence of who you are. The I, the unshaken core, remains beneath them all. Today's journey is about peeling back those layers, not to throw them all away, because some masks still carry wisdom, but to see clearly who is truly yours and what was never yours to carry. This is not about condemning the masks they served you. This is about remembering that you are more than the strategies that kept you alive. And as we walk deeper into this transmission, we begin the sacred act of loosening those masks until your original face, your original I, can finally breathe again. When someone looks you in the eye and asks, "Who are you?" what rises first? Most of us answer automatically with our name or our profession or our role in life, like "I am so-and-so. I am a healer, I am a teacher, I am a partner, or I am a mother." But notice, what we reach for is not the truth of the I. We reach for the roles, the names, the functions that the world has handed us. We confuse who we are with what we do or who we serve. There is nothing wrong with honoring those roles. Teachers, parent, lover, creator, but they are garments, not the skin of the soul. When you define yourself only through them, you risk losing sight of the one who wears them. Here lies a deeper teaching. Whatever your place after the words "I am" becomes the frequency you broadcast into the world. Say "I am unworthy" often enough, and your life bends to mirror it. Say "I am powerful, I am loved, I am whole," and you begin to walk in the reality shaped by those truths. I am is not just a statement, it is creation, it is invocation, it is a brush stroke on the canvas of your life. And so, the question is not only who are you, but what reality are you declaring into existence every time you speak the words "I am"? When you answer from the mask, you reinforce the mask. When you answer from the I, you remember yourself into being. This is why the return of the I is not about denying your roles or rejecting your humanity. It is about remembering that beneath all of it, your truest answer is simply "I am." Complete, whole, enough. Everything else is a story you choose to add, and you get to decide whether that story is borrowed or sovereign, constricting or liberating. One of the greatest traps of forgetting the I is letting the voices of others become louder than your own. People will always have perspectives about who you are and who you are not, and what you're capable of and what you'll never achieve. Sometimes those voices can come dressed as truth spoken by family, teachers, friends, or even lovers. But what they really are offering is their perspective, their lens, and their limitation. And here's the key. A perspective is not reality. It is simply a reflection of the filters, wounds, and conditioning of the one who speaks it. If you allow their perspective to become your identity, you begin living someone else's story instead of your own. You shrink to fit the container of their belief rather than expanding into the truth of your being. Honoring your truth means this. You recognize every outside opinion as data, not destiny. You understand that their "you can't" often reveals their own fear, not your limitations. You return again and again to the question, what does my soul know about me? When you live from the I, you stop outsourcing your identity to external validation. You no longer need someone else to confirm who you are or bless what you are capable of. Your truth becomes your compass. Your reality becomes the ground you stand on. And your choices become the proof that you trust your own soul more than anyone else's story about you. Because at the end of the day, beloved, only you get to decide what follows the words I. When the masks slip, when the roles are stripped away, what's left? Beneath the noise of other people's expectations is a silence. It is not empty. It is not cold. It is the hum of your original self, the pulse you had before anyone told you who to be. But finding that silence can feel terrifying. Because when the familiar noise falls away, you meet yourself with the buffer of performance. You meet the feelings you've buried under busyness, caretaking, or overachieving. You meet the desires you silence, so you wouldn't risk rejection. And here's the truth. You cannot return to the I without first being willing to hear what the I has been trying to say all along. That voice has been whispering under the weight of years. I am still here. I remember who you are. I never left you. This section of the journey is about becoming still enough, honest enough, and courageous enough to listen. Every identity you have worn had a purpose. The people pleaser kept you safe when love felt conditional. The achiever kept you valuable in a world that rewards productivity over presence. The caretaker kept you connected when you feared abandonment. But these identities were costumes, not your skin. They were survival strategies, not your soul. And there comes a moment, a sacred trembling moment, when the weight of the false self becomes too heavy to carry. Letting these identities die is not betrayal of who you've been. It is an act of devotion to who you truly are. It is choosing truth over performance, sovereignty over survival, freedom over familiarity. Yes, it feels like a death, because it is. It is the ending of an era, the unraveling of stories that once defined you. And in that death, something ancient in you breathed again. You realize the real self was never gone, only waiting, only watching, only preparing for you to return. The return to the I is not about killing the ego, and this is why many traditions speak of ego death, not as a destruction of the self, but the release of what is false. Ego death is not about disconnecting from the world or denying your humanity. It's about letting the false stories dissolve so that the true essence, the I, can finally breathe again. The true death is not the death of your humanity. It is the death of the illusion that you must abandon yourself to belong. The I lives, breathes, and loves through you in the world, not outside of it. Once the false layers are stripped away, you meet yourself in the raw light of truth. No mask, no performance, no justification. This is the I that does not bend for approval. The I that does not shrink for safety. The I that holds its own gaze without flinching. Reclamation is not about finding yourself. It's about remembering what was never lost. It's about returning to the frequency that was always humming beneath the noise of roles, labels, and expectations. Here, you stop asking for permission to exist. You stop explaining why you choose what you choose. You stop diluting your truth to make it more palatable. You begin speaking in the language of your soul again, through the way you walk into a room, the way you protect your peace, the way you say yes with your whole body and no without guilt. And in that reclamation, the world shifts. Not because you became someone new, but because you finally stood as who you've been all along. The return to the I is not a destination you arrive at once and stay. It is a daily devotion. A choice you make in each conversation, each decision, each moment you feel the pull to shrink or conform. Living as the I means you let your internal compass guide you more than external noise. It means your relationships are rooted in reciprocity, not obligation. Your work aligns with your values, not just your resume. Your spiritual practice nourishes your soul, not your image. When you live as the I, you notice how quickly old masks try to creep back in, especially when others are uncomfortable with your wholeness. But now, you feel the shift immediately. You recognize the tightness in your chest, the urge to explain, the temptation to overgive. And instead of slipping back into the story, you breathe, you ground, and you stand your ground. The I doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. It radiates a quiet authority. It speaks in the language of boundaries, embodied choices, and unapologetic joy. From here, you are no longer living in reaction to the past. You are creating from the present for the future as the sovereign architect of your life. Living as the I does not mean severing ties with the world. It's not about retreating to a mountaintop or rejecting all human connection. It is about showing up fully, here and now, with the deepest alignment intact. And so, beloved, the return of the I is not a concept we keep on the bookshelf of the mind. It's a way of breathing, walking, and showing up in the world. It's the way you say yes only when your body agrees. The way you hold your boundaries without guilt. The way you choose relationships, work, and rituals that honor who you truly are, not who you were told to be. When you live as the I, you no longer chase validation, love, or belonging. You become the source of it. You understand that your worth is not a currency to be earned, but a truth to be embodied. This is the quiet power that changes everything. And it begins the moment you decide that your soul's voice will be the loudest one in your life. And if you're ready to deepen this return to yourself, I invite you into my world beyond this podcast. In the Light and Shadow Sanctuary, our private community, you'll find ongoing guidance, group calls, and rituals to anchor you in your sovereignty. Inside the Grey Ethereus Academy, you'll step into a full mystery school path where we don't just speak about awakening, we live it. And for those drawn to the fire of personal transformation, I offer one-on-one coaching and private ritual work. A space where your evolution is tended with precision, depth, and devotion. You can always connect with me on TikTok, where I share daily teachings, readings, and transmissions in real time. All of those doors are open to you. Whichever path calls, know that you are guided. And next time on the Light and Shadow podcast, we step into the tender, powerful art of receiving. How to open without fear, guilt, or the reflex to overgive. Why receiving is not selfish but sacred. And how shifting into the frequency of allowing can transform not just your relationships, but the way abundance, love, and opportunity flow into your life. Until then, walk gently, breathe deeply, and remember, the magic is already within you. You are more powerful than you know. Until next time.